It's time for the Lovable Me Show. Based on the award-winning book series, I Am a Lovable Me. Get ready to have some fun learning with Lovable, our resident enlightening bug. Are you ready? Close your eyes and let's count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Now open them. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Lovable Me Show. Welcome back. I'm Sharon Penchina, your host and author of the award-winning I Am a Lovable Me books for children. Today we have a special guest joining us, and she'll be sharing some great tips that will help us better understand the importance of teaching children about a heart connection, as well as the benefits of meditation. But before I introduce her, I'd like to spend the next minute or two by putting up a few visual images and then throw out a few ideas and thoughts that you can simply contemplate. We'll keep it light, we'll keep it easy, something to just get us in the mood before we dive in a little deeper with our guest, Gitte Winter. Let's start with the heart of the matter. When we think about our heart and we place our attention on our heart center, it often evokes feelings of love. Maybe ask yourself this question: what is love to me? And see what comes up for you. Do you believe it's a feeling that is universal and that we all experience it in just the same way? Could love simply be the dissolution of boundaries and separateness? And what about kindness? Kindness is a natural expression of love and is at its very core. True kindness has no expectations and no strings attached. Some of the ways that we can show kindness are to express love to other family members. It's as easy as that. We can show kindness to our pets, as well as showing kindness to people we connect with during the course of the day. And something as simple as offering others our undivided attention is a great way to express kindness. Inner joy. Now, inner joy is the byproduct of kindness and something that our children can sense. There are many ways to model our own heart connection for our children to experience something as natural as following and living our dreams. Living our dreams can be a great way to love and care for ourselves while teaching our children at the same time. And another thing we can do to make our joy and our passion and our love for ourselves expressed is to base our decisions on that love and compassion. We can also do this through a show of gratitude. And what about intention? A great way to deepen our connection with our heart is through an intention to deepen it, as we let that be the guiding force when taking action in our daily life. And meditation. Quieting ourselves through meditation helps awaken the heart and raises our awareness, and it allows us to be present. And now that we're a little more aware and present, let me tell you about Gitte. Now, Gitte Winter is a Danish writer. She's a life coach. She's an energy mentor and a light worker, and the founder of Room for Reflection. She's on a mission to help parents help their children to thrive through meditation. Gitte helps parents become aware of their energy and what they're radiating out, as well as teaching them to always parent themselves first before they parent their children. It's a great thought. She's also the founder of the Momo Academy, which enables Danish schools to offer mindfulness to their pupils as part of their education. Now, with that said, Gitte, welcome to the Lovable Me Show.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. This is exciting.
It's really good to have you here. You know, this is a topic that's really so important to me because I know when I'm grounded in my heart, and that translates to my thoughts, my words, and actions, you know, I just feel a sense of peace and joy, and everything in my life seems to go a whole lot better. And I know that it's something that we all want for our kiddos. So my first question to you is, why is it so important to teach our children about developing a heart connection?
Because so much in life is so much easier when we are connected to our hearts. And I believe that all children are born as love and light with a very strong heart connection. But the way society is today and the way many parents live their lives today and bring up their children means that a lot of children sadly lose the connection quite young.
Mm-hmm.
So what I see is that it's not about really teaching them meditation or teaching them to connect to their hearts. It's more about reminding them. So I find it much easier to teach children meditation than adults, because adults have forgotten a long time ago, and the children have just not so long ago maybe forgotten. And some of them in the room, in a classroom, haven't forgotten, and then they will help their friends to remember. So it's all about reminding them what they are, light and love, and helping them keep that connection throughout their lives, especially into teenage life and later on when they go to university and become adults themselves.
Yeah, you know, that's such a good point, and also a great reminder that we come into this world with those innate skills and that intuition and that knowingness, you know, and that heart-centeredness. So it's not something that we necessarily need to learn, but we do need to awaken it and remember those qualities within us. And since children are such sponges, because I want to find out from you, you know, how you go about that, and you know, how parents can also go about encouraging that. I just want to share, you know, my background as a hypnotherapist. One of the things that, you know, I might have utilized or recommended, or actually had a client of mine experience in a session would be to almost, you know, physically touch their heart, you know, put their hands on their heart. And then, you know, with that, maybe imagining, you know, what that feels like, and then maybe breathing into their heart, or having them visualize and see if they could expand that feeling, maybe to fill the room, you know, as big as they could, you know, something along those lines. And I wonder if that's something that you incorporate, or that you teach, or what you know, what do you recommend? How do you go about that?
Well, it almost comes naturally that the children put their hands on their hearts when we do the meditations, also in classrooms. Then I ask them to put their hands on their hearts, and it's just natural for them. And the latest meditation I've written for children, for a book for children who have anxiety, in that book I have a meditation called Heart Light, and it actually teaches them that the light from the heart can come into the hands, and then we can put it where we are hurting or we have tension in our bodies. So I am actually trying to incorporate the hands more and more in what I teach.
Yeah, it's you know, and again, I guess I always, you know, reference my background, but it, you know, or even from the neuro-linguistic programming aspect, incorporating in all the senses. So, the hands on the heart, using their imagination, visualizing, the breathing, anything that will elicit as many senses in the experience too, seems to be helpful. And you say that it comes natural that they put their hands on their heart. I really didn't work with children in my practice. It was adults. So sometimes, they forget, but generally we do tend to revert back to that. And when we start to remember, I think it is a natural progression that you would touch your heart.
Yeah.
What other things can you share with us in terms of what a parent might incorporate in teaching their child or modeling for their child in this manner?
Yes, so the books that I've written are used a lot for bedtime meditation to help children sleep. And to be honest with you, I didn't write the books to help children sleep. I wrote the book to teach them that they are lovable, like your titles say. And I wrote them to help them connect to their hearts. And it turns out that when they do, they have a much easier time falling asleep. So I think that's funny in itself to think that the connection we have to our hearts helps us relax in a way that we can much easier sleep. And we know that children today in general sleep 1 hour less than 25 years ago. And I actually believe it's a sign of disconnection. So when we reconnect or we teach them to connect to their hearts at bedtime, then everything becomes much easier. And so how do we do that? How do we as parents help our children connect to their hearts at bedtime? The gate is by us connecting to our hearts. So what I teach again and again and again in workshops all over Europe is that it's not so much about the child not wanting to sleep. I don't want to sleep. I can't sleep. I'm not tired. I don't want to go to bed. All of that. The parent will think my child doesn't want to sleep or my child can't sleep. And as soon as we open up that gate to the heart and we open up our space of love in front of our body, and the children can find a way into this peaceful energy that we provide, then it becomes easy for them to connect to their hearts. So again, like everything else, they mirror us and then mirror our energy. And I think that's like the biggest wake-up call I can provide, is that it's not about the child. It's about society, and it's about the way we are as parents. And we know that bedtime is quite a stressful time of the day. So there is so much going on. And as soon as we become conscious of what is actually going on and how we are not helping our child by speeding everything up and demanding them to go to bed and raising our voices and getting more hectic in our energy and more, maybe even stressed out, maybe even angry. We don't know as parents that that is affecting our child's ability to fall asleep. So what we want to do is create a peaceful, loving environment. And because there is so much going on right then, and maybe we're thinking about work or the dishes or lunch bags or whatever, we don't provide that loving energy right then when it's most needed. So for us as parents, it's all about understanding that it's our energy that is affecting our children's energy. And as soon as we get that, we become open to what I call conscious parenting. And then there is so much we realize in how we raise our children and how affected they are by the way we behave.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm just recapping in my mind, because I just want to maybe share with the audience just some of the things that are what you're saying, and what's literally physically, mentally, emotionally taking place is, you're quieting the mind chatter, and we're sort of modeling and pacing the child into a more relaxed state, because energetically we're in a more calm, loving, and relaxed state also. So that's translating without even having to say anything. And then once the mind chatter, slows down, and then so much is happening on a physical level too, where the body is relaxing, heart rate going down, blood pressure, etc. And then that heart love connection being so comforting and so at the core of all of us. So everything that you're saying makes total sense to me, and it sounds like something we really need to be reminded of.
Yes, and maybe have a little think about how we see the problems that our children are having. Is it what is wrong with my child? Is one of the ways we typically ask today if there is something up. Where I would love us to ask, what's up in my energy that is affecting my child to behave in this way, and how can I, by taking care of me, by parenting myself first, help my child? So I'm hoping by engaging in discussions like this one that we can encourage parents to actually first look at themselves before they see the problems that they see in their children. So a lot of parents will come to me and say, could you please help my child? Could you see my child and could you coach? Or could you work with my child? And I say, I'd rather work with you. And then I work with the parent, and we talk, and I do my coaching and some healing and whatever is needed. And the parent makes some different decisions about how he or she wants to live, gets re-energized, sleeps better, him or herself, and all of that. And then I typically don't see the parent anymore. And if I meet the parent after 2 or 3 months on the street or wherever, and he or she will say, I'm doing much better. And then I'm happy for you. And then they will say, you know what, my child is doing much better. And I just think that is so important that we begin to understand how the way we feel and how we lead our lives is really affecting our children. So we see a lot of sensitivity and fragile children, and we see diagnoses thrown at our children all the time, where that could be needed in some cases, but in many cases, I think we should rather look at how we live as parents and how busy we are and how stressed out we are, or are we connected to our hearts? Are we connected to nature? Are we feeling satisfied with the way we live our life? Do we feel we have purpose in our life and all of that? And then if we did that, then a lot of the problems that we see in our children would go away. Yeah.
So kind of like we need to get our act together before we start looking at them getting their act together. Let's shift a little bit, or segue over to meditation. Is meditation something that all children can do and learn? What is your experience with children meditating?
So when I come into a classroom and they haven't meditated before, you would see 1/3 just starting and they don't need any training. Then you see another third trying to figure out, and they will move about and they will look around and then they will close their eyes and start breathing and all of that. And then you'll have 1/3 or maybe a little bit less that don't want to close their eyes, and they might be giggling or moving about and maybe making jokes because it's so different. It's such a different way of being with a teacher. And then you just have patience, because you know that third group is the group that need meditation the most. And you enter into a school and you start meditating with them, they won't be so quiet that you would love them to be. They will move around, they will talk, they will bother their friends and all of that, and they will end up sitting close to you. I always end up having them next to me and just moving into that energy that I am providing, because they just need it so much. So those that make the most noise when I start such a workshop in a school, and I come back maybe 4 or 6 or 8 times, they will always end up sitting very close to me at the end. And I just love that, because you can see that those who move about and can't find the peace in themselves, they need it the most. And they actually know. So as long as you're patient and you don't start using the same way they are met, usually by their own teachers. So you don't get upset with them, and you just have patience and just invite them to join all the time and say, if you don't want to meditate with us right now, please just be quiet and let your friends have a try at this. And you just talk to them like that, and then they will end up engaging, and then you can just see how they just love it. So I see that all the time.
Is there an specific age group that you recommend getting started with? That I do understand that you want to approach meditation differently with a child than you would with an adult. But what age do you recommend parents or teachers or caregivers get started with that practice?
Well, I had a feeling that it was from around age 3 to begin with when I started this whole, and I wrote my first book. But I found out that the earlier we begin, because as I said previously, it's much more about us than the age of the child. So if we feel stressed out during the pregnancy, for instance, and we read a book to our child in the womb like this, and we meditate to the child in the womb, all that you just talked about before happens in our body. And we know that the stress level of the mother is affecting the child already in the womb. So we want the mother to connect to her heart and connect to the heart of her unborn child. Like, we want her to feel that love in her whole system. So and especially in the States, my books are used in prenatal classes. Also for those parents who have, or mothers who have a hard time connecting to the child and understanding that they are pregnant. It's a big help to connect heart to heart in the womb as well. So and then if you can reach them, if you haven't started that early, say you have a child 7, 10, something like that, if you can reach them before they become teenagers, I recommend that. You can also start when they are teenagers, but you have a harder time, they will have a harder time allowing you to get that close and provide that space and crawl into that space. That's much easier when they're younger. But I have adults that hear about the book and they have their adult parents read it to them, even though they're 40 years old. So it's never too late. But I recommend that you get started before they're teenagers. And we also know that the better they sleep before they become teenagers, the better routines they have, the easier they will have maintaining a good sleeping routine when they are teenagers.
Right. So, and just to reiterate that up until the age of about 7, kids are right brain dominant, and they generally are also walking around in a theta state, which is when brainwave activity is lower. They're more highly suggestible and susceptible, and they also like repetition. If you ever notice that children like to be read the same book over and over again, they'll watch the same movie over and over again. And repetition helps program the mind and the brain to help form habits, beliefs, and behaviors. And learning meditation early on, or just even as simple as quieting themselves and sitting in silence, for however long, that lasts, or seeing, their parent doing the same, of course, as their role model. That's a great time to bypass, any, what we call, in my field, the critical factor, or, kicking out or rejecting new ideas. Again, they're so susceptible and suggestible that it's an easy time for them to learn these great, powerful empowerment tools.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what a parent might need to know when it comes to meditating and using, the books that you have with their children, what do they need to know?
Well, a lot of parents say to me, I've never meditated. How can I read a book about meditation for my children? And I say, think about it more as connecting to the love inside of you rather than now I need to learn how to meditate, which for many adults is tricky.
Mhm.
So all you need for my methodology to work is to connect to the love you have for your child. And eventually, while reading the book, you will understand that it's also about connecting to the love you have for yourself. But for many, many parents, sadly, it's easier to love their children than themselves. So we reach into that love they have for their child. And I am training parents to understand that the same ability and the same huge love they have for their children, they can learn to love themselves with the same power. They typically don't know in the beginning. So I'm just saying, if you love your child, you have what it takes. So it's just, instead of you start by figuring out, how do I feel about bedtime at my house? So let's say it's an easy, nice time. Then you can use the books to teach them about the heart connection and start having a language about love in a different way, and how we are connected to Mother Earth and to different elements. And you use it as a language. And then you just think about how your energy is. And if bedtime is a good routine in your household, you probably are very calm. And you probably are doing this all naturally. Probably you were tucked in this way when you were a child. But let's say you haven't had that sort of childhood yourself. Let's say you have a stressful life. Let's say that you're a single parent and it's just a lot of things going on. And let's say bedtime isn't the best of times around your house. Then I suggest that you start by checking into the emotion that you have when you think about bedtime. Mm-hmm. So even already now, if it's early in the day, you can think about what's happening in my body when I think about bedtime. So if it's is your energy an energy of, I'm gonna fight this one off, like, oh, I'm gonna fight with my child tonight, or is your energy, I'm just exhausted I haven't even begun and I'm just exhausted, or is your energy that your child is stealing your special time away from you because you have to sit in the room for so many hours? What is the energy?
Yeah. Or even, I love my child dearly, but I've had an exhausting day. And, what am I going to bring to the table at this point?
So checking in on our energy again, understanding that is what is affecting our child. So understanding, so this is my typical energy when I start bedtime routine, and how can I change that into a more loving energy vibe, and becoming more calm. You can see just the way I change my voice now because I talk about love. It's just so different. Yeah. So if I'm also challenged as a mother of two, and if I'm running late, or I think what can stress me out is if the clock is running late. So I think I have a strong ideas about when I want my children to sleep. So if we're running late, that can stress me out. So what I just say to them is this: just give me a minute, and I lay down in the bed next to them, and I just breathe. Okay, let me get to my special place where I can do this with you. So, and you let them see that. You don't have to be perfect when you walk into the room. You let them see how the breathing, and you checking into the love you have for them and the joy you wish you could have this evening at bedtime with them. You think about that, and you feel into that sensation in your body, and you feel how everything changes in your body. And you just let them see that, mommy needs to breathe for just 1 minute. Just let me breathe. And you can breathe with me, invite them to all of that. So, and that is actually an important tool to teach them to see how we regulate ourselves.
Yeah, I love that, because that's like, it could be as simple as that, and not as formal as you're doing that for yourself, and your energy is shifting and changing, and they're lying next to you perhaps, and we do it together. Yes. That's actually a form of meditation too, right?
It is. And just like you said previously, just by me lying there and changing my energy, they just calm down. So I in the beginning, I was talking while I was doing it and talking through the meditation. And I found out that if I was just feeling the same way and not speaking, I could still have them fall asleep very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried it with large groups of children as well. If I just get into that state of mind and I just calm myself down and get into the loving vibe, it just affects the whole room.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find it so beautiful. And I actually think it's a little funny because they can go from very hyper, even today when my kids are 10 and 13, they can be just, we just had this conversation with traveling, right? And then I say, it's bedtime. And 2 minutes after, they're sleeping. And when I walk out the room, I'm like, okay, this is funny.
Right? Well, if parents are needing to check in a little more deeply and get some, connect with you for coaching or any of the other ways that they can connect with you to, help themselves, obviously, first, and then look to model that behavior and mindfully parent their children, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to my website called roomforreflection.com, and you can get a hold of my brand new online program for sleep training for parents. And of course also get the books. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and all those places.
Well, that's terrific. And we'll put up that information. And Gitte, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's actually a great reminder. I don't think you can get reminded enough about this topic. So thank you for being here. And, we'll connect after the show as well, I'm sure.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Great. So everyone, please be sure to check out all the I Am a Lovable Me books today by clicking on the link at the very end of this video. Especially check out the book I Am Inside of Me and the book Lovable's Light to encourage your children to love and accept themselves. They're available in hardcover as well as audio iBooks. Also, you'll never miss any of our great shows by watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have a topic that you think parents and caregivers want to hear about and would like to be a guest on my show, please contact me through Facebook. I'm your host, Sharon Penchina, and we'll be back next week with more great self-empowerment tips for you. Thank you all for joining in, and be sure to have a fantastic day.
Thank you for watching The Lovable Me Show. Also, if you have any questions for Lovable, go ahead and ask away. Don't forget to visit us next week, right here in the Facebook book.